Hi, and welcome to Feature Fridays. My name is Guy Bartram. I'm the Product Marketing Director of Cloud Director's suite of products. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Bhaskar, all the way from Bangalore. So Bhaskar, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Bhaskar Gupta. I'm working as a technical product manager at VMware and a part of Cloud Service Business Unit.
And technical product manager, Bhaskar. So which product are we going to be talking about today? Your product, obviously. What's the name of it?
Sure. So today we'll be talking about VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager 1.1 version.
And let's start with a little bit of background. What is or where did I know VCF, for example, VMware Cloud Foundation has its software lifecycle management capability for all of the components of VCF. Is that where this new kind of capability came from, with the desire to manage the rest of the cloud provider stack in the same manner?
Yeah, sort of. So the main intent of this tool, basically, there was a lot of demand wherein we have got the lifecycle manager, which is tied to VCF, as you're saying. But for vCloud Director and other components like usage meter, vRealize, Tenant tab, and RabbitMQ, I mean, we needed a tool which can do that lifecycle management. So that's where VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager comes in place. And what the main our goal is, like in future, we'll be integrating that with the Lifecycle Manager, the SDDC Manager with the VCF, so that it can work in couple with that. It will be coupled, and so that we'll have one tool, and that will be doing all the lifecycle management on that.
All right. So today, this is a free, let's call it utility at the moment, right? It's a
Yes.
utility to manage this. And where can someone go and download this?
Sure. So anyone can go to my.vmware.com. So I'll be showing all those details in the upcoming slide as well, but I can tell you a bit more about it. So they can go to my.vmware.com and they can download it. So this product is currently available as a Docker image. So they will be able to download the tart.gz file, and they need to download it in the Photon OS and import that image. Apart from that, the best part of this tool, it's an API based tool, and we have got a very nice carved out Postman collection. So that Postman collection is also available in code.vmware.com. I'll be showing that as well. So all you need to do is that import that Postman collection in your Postman tool, and all the features, like deploy, upgrade, and all the features of this tool will be listed. All you need to do is tweak your, the variables, the vCenter and all the other details, and you're good to go. So we are trying to make it as easy as possible for the providers to deploy and manage it.
So, okay, so that's good to know. So this is deployment day 0, and then also day 1 operational type updates and patching.
Exactly. So how it works is like it gives a day 0, like as you mentioned, like deployment of the products like VCD, usage meter, vRealize, Tenant tab, and RabbitMQ, and configuration day 1. And day 2 activities, what we are calling is upgrade, certificate management, node management as well.
Okay. So how does this work? If I've got VCF today as a service provider, let's say I've gone and purchased some VX Rails, and I've got VCF running. I've got the SDDC Lifecycle Manager taking care of the VCF components. How do I know about the interop between the VCF componentry and the SDDC, the VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Management?
Yeah, so that's for for now, let's think about since we are not yet reached that stage where we'll be using VCF predominantly with this. So let's say you are using VCF, and on top of VCF, you're planning to deploy products like VCD, usage meter, and so on. So how this tool works is, this tool will only help you in upgrade and deploy, but the interoperability matrix for this tool, I'll be discussing more about it. So we have got the tested one is this product only works with 10.1 and 10.2 VCD. And we have already tested with 10.1.3 and 10.2.2, and usage meter 4.3 and 4.4. Similarly, vRealize 2.4 and 2.5. And RabbitMQ, we are not supporting upgrade. It's only deployment, since that's not our product. So it's a Bitnami image. We are supporting 3.8.6 and 3.8.14. But again, these are just the version. But when you're deploying VCD and all the related products and upgrade, we have to go to the product documentations, so that we have to see, what are the like NFS version, NS60, similar to that.
I was going to say, because the NSX piece is pretty important. I mean, that's like very tightly combined with VCD in terms of the offering. So
absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So a little bit of manual kind of look up there, but no way as bad as it used to be. You're only really checking a few things versus everything.
And not only that, in the the demo I'll show you, not only does it do the deployment, as I said, when you're seeing the configuration, it will integrate with the NSX, as well as create a provider VDC, network pool, and so on.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, it does a lot of automation in that way. All you need to do is just start with the creation of organization and organization VDCs.
Okay, so let's dive into some slides then. I think you had some slides that were sort of positioning the solution and going into a little bit more detail. Do you want to share your deck?
Yeah, sure. Just give me a moment. So, as we'll be discussing about VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager 1.1 version. So these are the agenda. We'll just quickly go through introduction and a high-level architecture, installation, some of its feature. Then we'll go to the product and feature demo, and at the end the references as well, where you can get more details and learn more about it. Okay, so what is VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager? As we covered a bit in the initial part of this session, so it is used for the lifecycle management for the CSV products, and like the day 0, day 1, and day 2 operations, like VCD, usage meter, vRealize operations manager, and tenant tab. So the day 2 operations for this tool will include product upgrade, certificate management, and node management as well. So who is this for? Basically, this tool is designed for the cloud providers who are planning to deploy and manage this cloud provider products like VCD, usage meter, vRealize, tenant tab, and so on. Now, the value which it gives is like it's a single API to manage different products, and I'll be talking more about those API in the while I'm showing the demo. And it's quite simple, because we are not the APIs are not product based on any products. It's just the call which we are doing, like the get command and the put command. That's what it defines, what we are doing. But again, it provides automated upgrade and other lifecycle manager functionality as well. So these are some of the key values of this product.
And this is it's a 1.1 release. So
yes,
what was the kind of history behind 1.0? Where did that when did that start?
Sure. So that's my next slide I was about to talk about. So the 1.0 in October 2020, we released it to one of the partner with limited functionality, wherein only the deployment was provided, wherein this tool was used to deploy all these products, wherein the other features like product upgrade, the certificate management, and the node management were not available. So that's why it was not released globally, because we wanted to add all these features before we can release. So coming to the product interoperability matrix, so all of these details are there in the deployment guide, and also there's a white paper which has been published. So VCD 10.1.x and 10.2.x have been tested, as I mentioned earlier as well. The usage meter 4.3 and 4.4. and vRealize tenant tab 2.4 and 2.5, and RabbitMQ and the Bitnami image 3.8.6 and 3.8.14. So these are the products which are supported. And again, another point I wanted to make, that VCD we are only supporting the appliance-based install. The Linux version-based install is not yet supported with this product.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just thinking from a VCF standpoint, VCF is not always in tune with the latest releases of NSX and stuff like that, because obviously they've got to build it into VCF and they've got to build in all of the SDPC lifecycle management into that. Right. So I expect then that there's not going to be too much issue in terms of interoperability between VCD like 10.2.2 and what's current in VCF for NSXT?
Not exactly. So we are also working towards that so that it should not be conflicting with that.
Okay.
Yes. And
so basically, sorry, go on.
So apart from VCF, what I was about to say is, let's say you have a source platform. I mean, the deployment platform of VCF. This tool also works with any vCenter. Let's say provider wants to deploy all these components on a on-prem vCenter. So using this tool, they can also deploy all this component on an on-prem. So here we are not tied to VCF as well. Apart from VCF, we can also deploy on an on-prem vCenter as well.
So if they wanted to deploy, if they had a vCenter and NSXT already in production, they could then just point this at the NSXT, give it the credentials, and off you go.
Absolutely, that's right. That's right.
So with this, then you're getting a fully kind of multi-tenanted public cloud service. You're getting your usage metering. You're getting your performance and capacity and tenant kind of view on metering as well with Tenant app. But then you're also getting ALP and all of the Bitnami catalog. Is that right? Is that what the Bitnami VM image is about?
No, basically using that image, we are deploying the RabbitMQ.
Oh, I see. That is the image of RabbitMQ. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're getting the automation capabilities with that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. So how big is this? What does it look like from an architectural footprint? I think you mentioned earlier it was a single Docker image. Is that right?
Exactly. So it's a single Docker image. Like you need to deploy a Photon OS VM in your on-prem vCenter or any vCenter, let's say in a VCF also, where you want to deploy all this. Get that Docker image imported. I'll be showing all these commands also on a high level in the demo. But so you can import that Docker image, and then what you're going to do is you just need to start that container. So there's a specific command to start the container. So once you start the container, what you're going to do is you have to have a Postman, or you can use any tool for the API calls, and then import that Postman collection. And in the collection on the URL, we are mentioning the VCP LCM host. So what is VCP LCM host? Is basically the Photon OS VM in which we have imported the Docker image. That is what we are calling as VCP VMware Cloud Provider LCM host. And that host IP, we are giving it to the Postman collection over there, so that it will be referencing that. And using, once it's connected, there are a couple of steps, like we have to get the token and all. Then we can, start the action items like delete, deployment, upgrade, and so on.
And how does this take care of like when VCD 10.3 comes out? There will obviously be a new supported update to the interoperability. Does that mean a whole new, excuse me, Docker image needs to be deployed with the new 10.3 binary included?
No. There's another point I wanted to make here. This Docker, and there is another component. Let me just talk a bit about the architecture here. So if you see here, on the left side, we have got provider orchestrator. And then let's say provider has got the orchestration and so on, manages the deployment of the SDDC. And in the middle, we have got the VMware Cloud Provider Lifecycle Manager. There's another component which is very critical. It is the repository. It can be a local repository. For instance, as I was saying, the Photon OS Linux VM. So over there, we can create a directory. We'll be creating a directory. And that directory will have, let's say VCD, naming VCD, usage, VROPS, tenant, and so on. In that directory, what we're going to do is we have to go to the marketplace or my.vmware.com and then download the OVAs. Let's say if I want to deploy VMware Cloud Director 10.1, we have to download that OVA in that and copy it in that directory. Okay, it is a manual process. It's not that it will be directly going to the marketplace and download it. And let's say if you want to deploy a VCD 10.1 in the code we are giving, the API call, so that 10.1 OVA will be looked upon in that. If it finds that 10.1 OVA is there, and it will be deploying using.
That's quite good. That's quite handy actually, because there are a number of providers who ask for secure environments and offline kind of capabilities to upgrade, and connecting always to a internet through secure data centers is not always possible.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
And also we can have an NFS as well mounted to that if we don't want a local repository for that. But what I wanted to make point here, so as long as we have the OVAs for upgrade, so let's say we have got 10.1 deployed and we want to upgrade to 10.3, which will be coming soon. So all we need to do is get that binary copied over there in a new folder. I'll be showing that as well. And then in the code, we have to give the reference as 10.3, and then it will be referenced over there.
Yeah, so I expect you're kind of issuing a new manifest, are you, for the upgrade, and then you just drop that into the application, and off you go. Then 10.3 suddenly is available to upgrade.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll be showing in my demo as well. I'll be deploying. I have deployed one VCD, and I'll show you how an upgrade works. I'll be deploying it from 10.1 to 10.2, and how easy it is. Okay.
Well, let's before we get to the demo, do you want to go over any other slides?
I just wanted to quickly go through this, what we discussed, the installation. So as I said, we need to prepare a Docker image, a Photon OS host, and we can download the Docker image from VCPLCM host like my.vmware.com. And the key component here is download the required product binaries, VCD, and all the products here from marketplace on my.vmware.com, and copy it. And we have to have we copy it in a specific folder structure. It's all mentioned in the document, this VCPLCM document here. And we have to create those directories and copy it there. And run the Docker container, that's it, and issue the Postman Collections API calls. And let's say,
sorry, what,
yeah, please tell me.
When it does the upgrade, then you're running those Postman calls. Is it running them asynchronously or synchronously?
Asynchronously.
Okay, so you're going to have quite a significant wait time between each component going through its upgrade cycle.
Yes, one by one we have to do. And so this tool doesn't have, I would say, database, so that it will keep all the information, stored in it. So I'll be discussing more and during my demo as well. So it stores in the memory all the details in the VCPLCM host. So what all it deploys, and so that it keeps a record of it, And let's say we have got a VCPLCM Docker image deployed. So it's very easy if a new Docker container or a new version is released, 1.2. So all we need to do is stop the Docker container, remove the entries, import the new container, start it. So that's simple. It is to upgrade this VCPLCM tool as well.
Nice. And does the so it's upgrading the actual tool itself. When it's starting to do upgrade of the actual operating systems and the solutions, I'm guessing it does all the prerequisite checking and all of the pre-steps before upgrades. Okay.
Yes, and also installation. So I'll be showing that as well. Okay. Cool. So I think that's pretty much just for the reference. These are the port requirements. This port needs to be opened from VCPLCM host to, like, when we are deploying that Photon OS and importing the container and so on. So all these ports needs to be opened for it to work. And for each products also, we have got some port requirements. Even though if you want to deploy VCD or RabbitMQ, so all the products have got their own port requirements. So similar to that, we have got for each products also. So all we need to do is refer this URL and start deploying using once we have this configured. Okay. So this is one of the machines which I've already built, and this is basically the VCF, and we have got this vCenter over there. So from this jump machine, so I want to show you first. This is the VCPLCM host. Okay, as you can see on the top, like, so when I run this Docker container ls, so this is the Docker image which is there. I've already imported it, and this is the version. And if you remember, I was talking about the folder structure, right? So in this folder structure, so in this folder, we have copied all the, if you want to go to this, let's say this one for the VCD for. So you can see there's an OVA as well. So we have similarly copied all of the OVAs in those specific folders as well. And if we go here, so we have got.
Sorry, what you got the VCD there? You got 10.11, 10.12, 10.20.
Yeah.
You haven't got 10.22 there. Is that something that you would have to manually create in the folder? Okay. All right. And then just dump the OVAs. Okay.
Exactly. Manually create that and copy all the OVA files over there. Similarly, if you see, I've created RabbitMQ, usage meter, and VRealize Tenant. So I've copied all the OVA files here. And same goes the upgrade in the binaries as well. Okay. Now coming to the Postman collection. So I just wanted to show you here that you can download the tool from here. There's a zip file, the Docker image, and similarly the Postman Collection code.vmware.com. From here, you can download this sample Postman Collection. Once you download it, all you need to do is copy to the import, click here, import. And once you import, this structure will come. So basically it's a CPLCM. I've just created a new copy to play around with it. And all these features will show up. You can see create VCD and then import VCD. So I'll be talking more about the features over here now, what all it can do, right? So initially we discussed about it. So let's say it can create all these tools. When I'm saying deployment, so it can create VCD, create RabbitMQ, and create usage meter, and so on, and tenant app. Now, apart from that, you can see here, it can upgrade all these products as well, and accept RabbitMQ and manage certificates. So let's say you have a VCD installed and you have got a certificate in it. So if you want to get that, what are the certificates installed in it, you want to see it, you can view that. And also, if you want to update a certificate, product certificate, using this call, you can do that. And similarly for usage meter and for rest of the products here. And next, we have got the manage node. So let's say we have got 3 cells deployed in a VCD using this tool or anywhere. Now you want to add another, cell to it. So all you can do is you can first get all the cells which are deployed. You can get one single cell also, what is there, and add a node. I can add another cell to it, upgrade a node, and redeploy, and finally delete a node as well. Similarly, for the rest of the products, like usage meter, VRealize Tenant app, and if you have multiple nodes or nodes information you need, you can do using this.
So Bhaskar, going back to the create environment, so that create environment, is that using any of the configuration that you would expect from like a VMware validated design or something like that? Has that been pulled into this configuration capability?
Yeah. So let me explain that to you. So I think if I explain this, how this structure looks like, you might get the answer to that. So yes, it does all that validation. So if we talk about create environment, right? I mean the VCD. So what it does initially, it creates a VCD. It's an identifier like VCD environment ID and a product ID. So first is like it is giving the system name and the DB password as we need and know that. And also one thing, like if you want to configure load balancer, you have to give a load balancer IP and here, so that it will be configured. And similarly for the external, this is more like a configuration part, and also the NFS has to be created. Now coming to the certificates, we will be if you want the certificates to be provided, we'll just give all the certificates here. And the integration, right? So, I mean, when you're saying the validated design, so it all depends now on the customer, how they want to deploy. They can deploy a single cell, they can deploy a multi-cell, and the way they want it. Basically, we always recommend to use a VVD for that. But I mean, this code they can modify based on the requirement. For instance, the integration, like once the VCDs deploy, you want to integrate to the vCenter, all these details are there. What vCenter you want to add it to, and the network pool, as you can see, the network pool name as well. And then comes the NSXT, right? So NSXT integration details here, what we want to do, and the external network, it will create what the network details it has to be once it creates. And finally, these are all optional. Like if you want that the tool to do it for you, you can, or you can remove this part and it will just deploy product for you. So as the RabbitMQ, if you want that to be integrated, obviously the RabbitMQ has to be deployed first, and you can use this tool to deploy. And it can, here we can see we have got a load balancer because it's 2-cell RabbitMQ we have got, and we are using that to integrate here. And finally, the product. So if you see here, this is what the main is, product ID. It is a unique identifier. Using this product ID, we can fetch the specific vCloud Director instance details, how many cells it has got, whether we want to upgrade those cells or not. So automatically, it will keep on updating as in when we deploy. And then we have to give the license, the password, admin password, because here it's deploying, and cell name here. What's because we have got 2 cells, cell 1 and IP address, and we have got cell 2 here. Similarly,
so so just as this is where I was kind of getting to the VVD kind of design around best practices of deployment. And so it looks like it's basically taking the premise that you can deploy out the box and get the best practice, but if you wanted to do a one node, you just come in here and just hack away at it and remove it. And also, does it take into account the ordering? So I'm looking at create VCD, and I saw obviously the RabbitMQ was before the VCD component, and that type of thing's been taken into account.
So what happens is the ordering, it doesn't take care of itself. So this is what we have to make sure that we get all these prerequisites. Let's say if you want to deploy VCD, so we have to make sure that the RabbitMQ is already deployed. I mean, so it is something we have to manually, keep in mind and deploy accordingly.
Okay, so that create environment VCD, that won't. It's not then going to say, well, it's up to the person deploying really what they want to do. So there's a fair amount of knowledge then in how VCD needs to work and the dependencies that you still need when running this tool.
Yes, to some extent that is needed. The reason being, if let's say, for example, you're deploying this with a RabbitMQ, and you have not deployed this RabbitMQ at all, and by mistake, or you have given this and that VM is not there. So during the pre-validation, there's a pre-validation also task which it will do. During the pre-validation for the deployment, it will fail because it will say there's no RabbitMQ instance.
Okay, cool. That was my next question. What about the error handling and things like that?
I'll show that as well.
Okay.
So now I was talking about the cell 2, all the details. As you're aware, we have to give all the network details. And finally, the infrastructure details. That's where the VCD cells will sit. I mean, the vCenter details in which you have to deploy the VCD. So the one which we mentioned on the top, the vCenter was for integration, once we deploy, and this is just for the deployment and the data stored and the network details, which we have to give. Now, let's say how to work. Tell me.
Just one more question. So things like IP addresses, subnet masks, host names, physical host names, are these things that are checked by the tool? Is there any, are we doing any data validation?
It will be checked by the tool. It will be trying to connect to the IPs and verify the IPs are reachable and not. If it's not, it will fail directly, given a def.
But if I put in a bad subnet mask by mistake or typo, then it would fail. Okay,
yes.
Cool. That's
pre-validation, it will fail.
And when all right, so it fails in pre-validation, but once you click go, it's going to go. And if it fails in a component through that, do you have any rollback capability, or what does the error handling give you at that?
So the rollback, the rollback capability, how it works is, let's say during the upgrade process, let's say for the deployment, it will fail directly. It won't even let you deploy. But for the upgrade, basically how it works, there's an option that it will roll back. We can enable or disable that rollback feature also with this tool. Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah. So how you need to work with this tool is just simple. Using this, like, let me see. So you have to first create an authentication token. These are all the calls are made, and all you need to do is the JSON ID, and this JSON ID will be referenced throughout. And if it expires, usually after 15 or 30 minutes, all you need to do is just come back here and recreate another. And let's say I'll show you get about. So you can get more details about, let's say, what version of the VCPLC you're using and product version and everything. So this get request doesn't need authentication, but for next steps, like you need this. So what I did, for the interest of time, I have deployed the VCD. I'll show you real quick. And so this is my vCenter. I have created one of the vSAN NFS here for the VCD. And a few of the cells, if you see, I've deployed 2 cells. One is this VCD cell 0, VCD4 cell 01 and cell 02 using this tool. Now, how it works is, let's say I had run this. All I need to do is go here, go to create environment, check all the variables and modify, because all my variables are already defined here. If you see here, the variables are here. You can define your own variable, or you can just type all the details here and click on send, right? You should get a task ID. Let's say task ID 1, it will be returned. So that task ID will be referenced automatically here. And then you can get to know the status of the task, what is going on, what all steps are being executed. So if you see the last task ID is referenced here. So all you need to do is come back here, click send. And I just wanted kept this, to show what are the tasks it executes once the deployment happens, the pre-validation and so on. So first it discovers whether the version here, and then it says successful and all. And this is the key part here. And also there's an option where you can say, and validation, ignore validation is equal to true, wherein if you want to ignore the validation, you can do it, but we don't recommend it, because at times if it fails, there are high chances that deployment will fail. Now, first, if you see, check connection to the vCenter, all this connection, what we gave, all these details, it will check. And if the resource pool exists, because we get the resource pool name and everything. So I think that answers your question. All the network mappings are there or not. All these details, if you see, its status showing okay and all. So similarly, only when, if you see, all the network will validate the DNS PTR records. So all this DNS record has to be created, and it will check against the host name whether the DNS is valid or not. And finally, I'll show you what are the next steps once.
This is great. I mean, this is really useful, right? There's a ton of variables that you're putting in, but ultimately doing this manually is painful, to say the least. And you're going to make typos, whereas here we can just fill out a variable file, and it's automatically going to go and check it all. That's really, really useful.
Yeah. And also, as I said, RabbitMQ integration exists and all, so it will fail directly with here. And now let's say the product deploy steps. Now this is where the deployment will happen. And if in this step, you can see that the OVA is getting deployed in the vCenter. So deploy VCD node 1, and it will check whether it exists and so on. Deploy node 2. And then comes the configuration of node. As we said, it will configure the NTP and all the details, and then the certificates. If you are giving the certificate details, it will configure the certificate, or else it will just skip it. And finally configure the product, with the details which we have given. It will just configure, and the integration like NSX, Team Manager, and VCD integration at the end it will do. And here it will do a post validation, post deploy validation. It will determine IP, and some of the tasks like check IP address is responding to ping, because if this is one of the cells IP address, so whether it's pinging or not, and so on. And
can you customize these post installation checks? Is there I suppose you can't you, if you just edit the postman?
If we edit the, I'm not sure about it, but if we edit, this customization, it all depends on what other details you have given in this collection. So, but if you really want, let's say, to delete this check and so on, so I'm not sure about it, but I think to check with engineering.
So for example, ping ICMP through firewall, you might not have that open between the deployment and the actual instance. I'm just thinking whether you could, like, say, don't do any pings, or do a ping from a different host, that type of thing.
Gotcha, but I'm not sure, but I don't think it's possible. Only option as of now is ignore the validation, but I have to check that. Yeah.
Okay.
And at the end, it will check whether it's registered with the VCD. And finally, this is where you can see that it will also discover that in the tool that this has been deployed, and the status at the end will show success. If there's an error, you will see an error here, bunch of error. And also in the Postman, when you're running this interactively, you can also verify some of the errors from here as well. I'm sorry. So I'm sorry about it.
And when it does the installations of all the OVAs, is it running in kind of silent mode on the OVAs, or is it kind of logging out verbosely for each OVA install?
It will be using for each OVA installed there. Okay. So now that we have deployed this, and another feature it is, for example, if there is a brownfield environment, there's a VCD already deployed. So this tool will not know that the VCD is deployed, and that deployment might not be done using this tool. So there's an option called import environment. So all you need to do is give all the details of that environment, which is already deployed over here. And in that way, VCP-LCM will know that this tool is already there, and it will, you can do an upgrade and rest of the task, day-to operations from here. So that is for the brownfield environment, where the components are not deployed using this tool. Okay.
Okay.
So let's, now that we have created a token, first we'll do is we will add, let's try to add a node, and we can see how it goes. So if you see, when I click on add node to a VCD, we've got two cells. So the third cell, this one it will be adding. So we have, I've already created the DNS entries and all the management gateways for here. And eventually we should see 3 cells over here at the end. So if you see, task ID 9 has been returned. So it is based on how many tasks we have just run. Task. So here you'll see that the pre-validation is in progress, and some of the tasks, and now it will just do all the checks. And what we need to do is just keep on hitting all this and see how it takes. So again, it might take a bit of time, and for the deployment to work. And while we are so basically it will create a new node and add that node to the existing environment. Now, while we're waiting for it, I'll just explain about the next demo, what I'm going to show and how it works basically. So update VCD, for example. Oh yes, another point before we go to update VCD, in the body where we deployed the VCD cells. So we have mentioned the version, the product version is 10.1.2, and similarly we have got the OVA as well in the respective location. So when if we want to upgrade it to 10.2, so all we can do is we can go to update VCD in the body, if you see, and respectively, all we need to know that what are the update, stages. And these are the things. It's obviously product based. So 10.1 to 10.2, you can give this version, and you have to make sure that the OVA is already there in the repository and click on send. Now, yeah.
That keep backup, is that when run a VCD backup locally and appliance backup?
Backup, you're saying before the upgrade, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so what it does is it will first take a snapshot. It just takes a snapshot, powers off the VM, does an upgrade, and once it upgrades, it just deletes the snapshot. These are the only sort of backup it does, the appliance.
Oh, okay, all right. So it's not using the new VCD appliance backup mechanisms.
No, it just takes a snapshot.
Right, got it.
So so this might take a bit of time here. So while we can just.
Yeah, it's going to take a while for, especially things like the database and everything else to be updated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and at the end, you can see the progress is going on, and post deploy validation and so on. It's still pending, not started, it shows.
So if these are kind of running asynchronously, obviously in environments, we I guess we'll be seeing more, now that this is getting easier to deploy, we're going to be seeing more instances of, I don't want to say private public clouds, but I'm going to say private public clouds, where you've got an instance of VCD with VCF and everything else, and it's being offered to a customer, a very large customer, for example, to run their own public cloud service internally. So we're going to see more and more of these being upgraded. Is there any plan? What are the plans for the future of the tool in terms of next phases? Obviously, we got quite a fair amount covered here straight away out of the box. The future is to kind of fold this into the SDDC Lifecycle Manager as optional components, right?
Yeah, but again, there are two things here. And first of all, your first point was absolutely spot on, because we get so many requests, let's say VCD on VCF. With this, I'm pretty sure providers would love it, because this will automate the deployment and upgrade. Second, the future plans, yes, but again, we wanted to use with the VCF. Also, we wanted to release an appliance version rather than the this Docker image for this tool, so that it's very easy to manage and use. Coming back to this, if you see here, the validation has been done and all the IPs details which I give, and now deployment of this node is in progress. Now, if you see here, you will see that OVA is getting deployed and cell 3 is getting deployed here.
Yep, excellent. That's brilliant. Wow. That's going to make things so much easier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parameters that you have to provide here. How do you guys do this, other than obviously you don't really want to hard code them in the body necessarily? There's a parameter file.
Yeah, there's something called this variables. All you can do is define the variables. Like, for example, I've got this, if you go to body, sorry, not so all these versions, not a version, let's say create environment, right? So here we have got the passwords, DB passwords, load balancer IP. For example, the certificate and the key, you really don't want that to be copied here, because copying a certificate file in the JSON, there are a lot of issues with the spacing and so on, right? So it's better to put it, let's say, for example, so I've got this certificates here. I've just copy pasted that, and I'll just reference it over here, like what public, and this is the one which I'm just saying.
Yeah, I see. Okay. So it will read the file, give you the list of all the variables it requires, and then it's up to you to kind of fill them out. Yeah,
exactly. And also, for example, for instance, if you want to change the password and you don't want to again create a new variable, you can directly type in the password here instead. That's more how you want to make it more convenient for you. Now,
okay,
it's a get task. Let's see where are we at. So now that the deployment is still in progress. So post deployment, we need to configure the node so that it's gets integrated with the rest. And at the end, we need to configure the certificate. And this is where the LCM discovers that, okay, we have got these 2 nodes. Now we have added another node. So in my repository, I see that 3 nodes are there. So at the end, it will discover, and then the pre-post validation stuff. And this is more like, the deletion, if the rollback sort of things. If it doesn't work, it will delete the nodes.
Right. So the rollback stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I don't think we need to see it go through to its end. It's obviously following its course. I did miss, where are you putting in the number 9 for get task here? Or is it just getting the latest task?
It's getting the latest task. It's auto-populated. Okay. Let's say it can be any task. You are deploying a RabbitMQ or anything. It can be any task. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So you've done coverage now for VCD, VROPS, RabbitMQ, and usage meter. Tenant app, obviously VROPS. Is that, just so I know, the Tenant app, is that deployment of Tenant app and deployment of VROPS?
No. Yeah. So how it works is, so we have to make sure that the VROPS is already deployed and it is integrated with VCD, and the management packs for the VCD is already there in VROPS, and then using this Tenant app will be integrated with the VROPS. So I'll show you real quick, the VROPS call here, and this Tenant app has to be reachable to the VCD, I mean VROPS as well. So if you look here, so what we have got is obviously the VROPS product ID. This is unique, and then integration. So VROPS Tenant app to VROPS. That's where we are giving the VROPS details here. The VROPS IP, it has to be existing. Yeah. And then integration with the VCD load balancer IP. And all these details here, let's say, and then comes the node details of this VROPS Tenant app. And finally, the infrastructure where on the vCenter where it has to be deployed. So this is how it works. It will basically help you deploy this and integrate with the existing environments.
Got it. Okay. And is there any overview documentation that people can look at on each one of these post scripts that you've got here?
Yes. So this is one of the blogs, and then the documentation. This is the documentation which we have got, the deployment and the administration. So this basically here helps you understand that how you need to run those scripts. And for example, these are the scripts, the body, what we have to run, the JSON ID, and so on. But again, you can always refer to the code.vmware.com, the reference ID guide for more details.
Okay, so that's great. So you've got lots of information there and detail for people to read and find out more information about.
Exactly, that's right. So this, I mean, these all are, we are trying to make sure that it's more readable and easy for the users to deploy.
This is really cool, Bhaskar. I'm really, really excited to see this. And when can we expect a next version? And what do you think the next version is going to be looking at?
Yes, sure. So it has to give you an exact timeline though. But again, we are expecting a next version by end of this year for sure, or prior to that. So in the next version, what we are focusing more are just try to get on the appliance version so that it's easy to deploy and manage, and some of the other features apart from this. But again, these are subject to discussion again. But the main focus area is the appliance version, which we are trying to get this.
You mentioned at the beginning that the post scripts you've got here were kind of sample scripts, but actually they're pretty comprehensive, aren't they? I don't think there's anything you'd need to add or remove. Well, you can remove from them for certain, but there shouldn't be anything you need to add to those, really, should there?
Exactly. So how it works, yeah, you're right. So basically, once I import it, for example, let me show you this one. So this is the fresh, I mean, the script which I've just imported a while ago. So you'll get all this. So all you need to do is select what you want to do, create environment, go to the body and edit the scripts. For example, I'm not sure, okay, what certificate I need to use. Let me just deploy the product and show the certificate here. I mean, add the certificate later on. So I can just do that, okay, and just remove this part and it will work. So this is more, you know, up to customer and the providers what they want to do, and based on that. And one thing I wanted to show you that I have already deployed the VCD here. So using this tool. So once you deploy the VCD, and this is the load balance of the VIP, and what all is configured first. As I mentioned, the vCenter is already integrated, and NSXT as well. And you can see some resource pools, and obviously, and provided VDC is also created using this tool. And initially, this you can see that the version here is 10.1 and 2 cells, external networks, and network pool. So all these things, you know, this tool can automate for you.
Wow, it's done a lot. It's done a lot of your basic setup. You're ready to rock and roll. Really, start creating your custom org VDCs, and off you go.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah,
and that these are all, you know, are mentioned here. So it's up to the provider's choice whether they want to add it and use it like this.
Yeah, brilliant. Bhaskar, thank you so much for showing us this today. I think this is fantastic. I personally didn't know much about this, so I'm super pleased to have spent some time with you and gone through it, and I hope the viewers also have got a lot from this. We'll keep an eye out on, I'll post the links to the blogs and the download sites and everything else with the video. Obviously, start with the blog, perhaps that would be a good place for people to start, and then that obviously gives you access to all of the tooling and you know, download locations as well.
Sure, that would be. Thank you, Brian.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Bhaskar. Take care. Cheers.